por fin, we seize the time, free at last. Learn to love, live to fight, not just for me, but for others. Teach the new blood and live for freedom. I survived the COINTELPRO assassinations, AIDS epidemic, crack era fractured the nation. The interpretation of American democracy is best exemplified in its foreign policy dichotomy. I live a double life of political philosophy, but revolution follows me to struggle for equality against the morally bankrupt, claiming to be born again. It's a civil war again, like MS-13's origin. Ban ethnic studies claiming our culture will swallow them, but you can't conquer people and build a country on top of them, and then feel offended that they breathe the same oxygen. Your family values lack the wisdom of Solomon, but Operation Condor and Operation Bootstrap are poli-sci.
Shalom Yisrael. I'm going to start off by giving call hello Yahweh, Ba'ashem HaMashiach Yahushua. That's all honor, all praises, and all glory to the Most High God Yahweh, in the name of His only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. This War Dog Yashiyala out of Boston, Sakara, Boston. Just gonna do a quick video, quick little series. Today's video is gonna be quick, but I'm gonna do it's a bigger lesson. Not enough to fit in one little video. But this video is gonna be on Gentiles, the context and the terms. So like, it's gonna be more educated. It's not the word Gentile, the word strangers. They're not just one word, like one definition words. You know, they're broad, and you gotta pay attention. So if you don't pay attention to it and you're constantly, just being there's a word, I don't know what the word is, but I don't want to say uneducated, but if you're not studying something and you're just kind of taking it for face value, things like, and you don't go to the etymology of words, the definitions of words, you'll get put in a hole. You get put in a bucket with everyone else. They're like zombies. They don't really know. They don't really know the scriptures. They don't know words. They don't know definitions. And then when they see a word, like they see a word like hell, they'll see a word like Gentile, and then they're just like, but it says this, but they don't really study it. They don't. So that's what I made today. I did a video. It was like a little presentation on Gentiles. It's on my channel. So this is like kind of like further expounding on it, giving more edification, slightly more. And if I ever update it again, I'll put the video in the chat. In the little button here. And yeah, so let's get to it. Look at that, I'm already on it. So the word Gentile in the New Testament and Gentile in the Old Testament, similar, but just different languages, right? Because fortunately we don't have the Hebrew, the New Testament in the Hebrew. So different words, but we do have. There was enough understanding in the translation to use the right word for goy, right? So let's read this, because the word Gentile literally means nation. Simple, just means a nation of people. It can be Israelite, it can be heathen. An Israelite can be called the heathen, but a heathen will never be called an Israelite. Right? So there's a book of just quick little. During the series, in this whole series, I'm gonna focus more on the New Testament than the Old Testament, because that's where people get confused. That's where the misconception and the misinterpretation begins. So, but we have to understand, obviously it comes from the Hebrew, so let's get into the Hebrew first. so we can know where they translated it to, where the mistakes are happening, so on and so forth. So this is the book of Genesis, chapter 10, verse 5. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, everyone after his own tongue, everyone after his tongue, after their families, in their nations. So this verse is very important because when you go into the etymology, you have Gentiles, right? And then you have nations. It's two different words, two separate words. At face value, without studying the Bible, if you're just reading the Bible, you'll see them as two different words. Right? So let's go down here. Yeah, I think they changed this. That's weird as hell. Either way. So if we look at the word Gentiles is H1471 and is Goy. Goy, man. Even simple people from the modern church understand that that Gentile means is translated from Goy. Even the most simple person knows that, right? So bam. So we have the Gentiles being translated from Goy. Then we have go down here to nations. It's also 1471 Goy. So separate words, but the same. It's translated from the same word. Right? Let's see what that word is, what it means. So the root means body. Obviously, a body has different members. It's like a government. Right? Let's go to. So it says it's translated strong 1471, 374 times. It means nation. 374 times means nation. 143 times was translated to heathen, and then 30 times Gentiles, and 11 times people, because that's all it means. It just means people, body, right? Look at this. It means nation, people, usually of non-Hebrew people. That term usually is very important because typically, yeah, it means the nations, but since we as Israelites are separated people, he's not gonna cluster us in together with the heathen. So he'll call, he separated us. He grabbed us out of it. When he had Jacob, when he changed his name to Israel, that was him being separated. So we're not heathens anymore. We're not of the nations. We're separated. All right. It says descendants of Abraham, which can be a bunch of people. Descendants of Israel, a swarm of locusts and other animals. So it's just a group of things. Right? Goyim means nations. You see? It says rare, shortened, apparently from the same root as each. So it says in sense of massing, a foreign nation, hence a Gentile, also figuratively a troop of animals, if Gentile nation people. And it goes bam, it goes nation, people, community. Sometimes in of men from the root. What's very important when you're dealing with words, it's not just the Strongs. Like the Strongs is very, like, it's our bread and butter, right? We tend to go to it all the time. But you have to go into, if the context doesn't make sense, doesn't harmonize with everything else, go to the Strongs. And if the Strongs is not really making sense, go down to the Briggs, the lexicon. These are just different etymologies, right? You got the Chaldee lexicon, Chaldee. I don't even know how to say that, but I think it's Chaldee. Right? It says, word in general and used of nations at large, which should not have been doubted by some pluralists of Israelites, of the Israelites. So, specified is used of other nations besides Israel. We know that. So when you see a term, right, when you see a term like goy getting pulled in so many different directions, context is key. You have actually I don't have, nothing comes to mind right now, but there's many terms that get pulled in many directions, right? So you have to use how it's being used to help dictate and kind of guide it to where the person saying it is trying to land it, right? Like everyone else, like fire. Fire has we made it mean many words. It can be some shoes, it look fire. It can be literal fire. It can be some people use it for drugs. Some people like it has many meanings. So the context of how the person's using it shows where they're trying to land it. If I think that makes sense, I'm not trying to confuse people, but I hope that makes sense. Right? Like I said before, Israelites can be called heathen, but heathens can be called Israelites, because he has a specific people that he took from out of the group of nations, and he got it for himself. So we're not if you're living in his will, if you're doing his will, if you're following his commandments, and you are an Israelite, you're not of the nations anymore. You're not considered a Gentile. Right? But we'll get that later on in the series. But there's also another word that the modern church tends to take out of context to prove our mingling in the way we handled other nations, and that word is strangers. Right? Strangers is another. It's another word that, like I said, they take out of context, twist it up, and then they mess around with it, right? So we're gonna get out of Gentiles for a little bit. It's gonna go to Leviticus 25 and 35. You're gonna hear Israelites using this all the time because it's key to seeing the differences in different strangers. You know, you can call everyone a goy, but you can't call everyone an Israelite. You can call anybody a stranger, but different strangers are subject to being treated differently. Certain things you can do to a certain stranger that you can't do to another stranger, right? You can't in Israel. Let's say I'm in Israel, and I have a fellow, another Israelite, but he's from another land. Like he lives far away. He's coming over. I can't treat him the same way I treat a Moabite that comes from Moab, from the land of Moab, to Israel to dwell in Israel, right? The book of Leviticus, chapter 25, verse 35. And if thy brother be waxen poor and fallen in decay with thee, then thou shalt relieve him, yea, though he be a stranger or a sojourner, that he may live with thee. Right, so it's calling an Israelite, a brother, a stranger. Right. So that's an example of an Israelite being called a stranger. Let's see what that word is. Go to see what is you. Oh, there it is. Strong's 1616 is Gar, right?
Strong's H 1616. Gar.
Gar. Yeah,
Gar.
yeah, so right.
And the form just below that, Geir. Geir.
They added, they're updating the blue letter, right? They got, he didn't do that before, right? You know what? The heathen will, they're unintentionally edifying the Israelites. And they unintentionally giving us the tools to wake up. Not only wake up, but actually edify Israel. And if they knew what they were doing, they wouldn't do it. I tell you that right now. This probably would stop real soon. Um, but that's not the point of the that's not the point of the lesson, right? So it means a sojourner, a temporary inhabitant, a newcomer lacking inherited rights of foreigners in Israel, though conceded rights. So it means a temporary inhabitant of foreigners in Israel, so people that are born out of the land, they come over. It says lacking inherited rights. Right? Let's see what it says in the Strong's. It says properly a guest by implication, foreigner, alien, stranger. The Brown says temporary dwelling, newcomer, compare Moses in the desert. Let's see what this one says. Look at that. It says a sojourner, stranger, foreign, a person living out of his own country. So if a man is in his country is Israel, but he's going somewhere else, he's a stranger. Right? If a man is from Moab, he comes over to Israel, he's a stranger. No. Let's go over to. So again, it's another term that can be pulled in different directions. Verse 36. It says, bam. So this stranger, this brother that's fallen on hard times, and he's a stranger unto you, you take him in, right? Because this is your brother. You're obligated to take care of your people, right? You are not obligated to take care of the other nations. Leviticus 25 and 36, the next verse over, says, take thou no usury of him or increase, but fear thy God, that thy brother may live with thee. Usury, that's interest. That's interest. That's if I'm lending him $100 and I'm asking for 110, that's no on my part. Because we're not allowed to do it to our brother, because we're supposed to care about our people. Right? So keep in mind, this stranger right here, you cannot you cannot perform usury upon him, right? Or her. But I'm going to show you, not that the Bible contradicts itself, because a lot of people see the Bible's contradicts, but it doesn't. It's Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 20. And it says, unto a stranger thou mayest lend upon usury. The last verse we read said that you can't lend usury upon a stranger. This one says that you can, because they're different strangers. The other one said a brother that is a stranger. This one just says a stranger. Right? Unto a stranger thou mayest lend upon usury, but unto thy brother thou shalt not lend upon usury, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all that thou settest thine to in the land whither thou goest to possess it. Simple. Stranger is just somebody that's not in their country, or somebody that goes and that comes back and just is a stranger to the land. Simple, but they take it, and I can see how they can get confused. It's not hard, because if you're reading at face value, just like reading the surface level, you'll get confused. But context is key, man. Context is key. There's no other way. I can't even say a better term. All right. So let's go to Deuteronomy 28 and 43. It says, the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. This stranger, if you're reading it within context, because it's the same word, if I'm not mistaken, gar. So this gar will come above thee, and then we're gonna come very low. This stranger within, if you're reading within context and you're harmonizing the whole Bible, it's a heathen. Oh, we're in 28. All right, perfect. Watch this. To give an example, what he's talking about, right? Because this is Deuteronomy 28:1. It says, and it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all the nations of the earth. So in verse 43, I believe it was, said that the stranger is gonna be above us, because we know that we didn't keep the commandments. We got cursed. So one of the curses, which is everything past verse 15, was one of the curses is actually the strangers being above us, even in our own land. Well, one, we don't have the land of Israel, right? But then we migrated. We try to go somewhere to keep the commandments. And I'll use myself as an example. Tribe of Ephraim. We went to Puerto Rico, to Borinquen, and we try to just live our lives there, by ourselves, peacefully, not bothering nobody. And then the stranger comes and takes our land once again. And what do? They take over. And when the Spaniards got beat, America came, and then Babylon came, and they took over. America came and took over. So one of the curses is that the stranger is going to be above us. Doesn't matter where we go. All right. So was it 43? The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt become very low. So we know Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans, the Israelites were low no matter where we go. So that's that. Next verse. And then you also have strangers. You have like an Israelite stranger, because they'll call him a stranger because he's acting like the other nations. You'll hear sometimes it says that ye were Gentiles carried away unto false idols. I'm gonna go into that in a later video. But strangers, an Israelite stranger would just be following heathenistic customs, worshiping Ashtaroth and sacrificing their kids to Molech, and just a bunch of wickedness. But they would be considered strangers, Gentiles. And also, but also strangers are sometimes Israelite strangers are sometimes just they're practicing jewelry, they're practicing the commandments of the Most High, but in other lands. It's not just Israelite acting like a heathen. It can be an Israelite being an Israelite somewhere else. right? So let's say like in the kingdom of heaven, right? In the kingdom of heaven, Israelites are in rulership, and I decide to live somewhere out of Israel, keeping the commandments, going back for the Passover, going back for Feast of Dedication, Feast of Tabernacles, whatever feast I have to go back for and troop it back. But I live somewhere else and I'm keeping the commandments and I'm doing my stuff there. I mean, I guess I would be considered a stranger because I'm not living in the land. But it's not like a harsh. It's not like somebody that's in the land and just keeping. I mean, they wouldn't be living in the land going against the commandments of God, but somewhere else keep being a heathen. You know what I mean? There's a difference. So then we got like during the so you have in the quote unquote New Testament, you have Israelites being called Greek, being called Grecians, Hellenistas, Gentile, Cosmo, everything that has to do with that's not an Israelite, because you got to understand that when Yahushua, who the world calls Jesus, was on the scene, we were in the Roman captivity. We had four Greek, Medo-Persian, Babylonian, Assyrian. Yeah, so we had about five, right? So we had like four before. Well, we had other ones because we had like the Moabite captivity. We had a bunch. We were constantly in captivity before um the Roman captivity. That's when Jesus was on the scene. Um, so by that time, when the Romans took over everything that Greece owned, that ancient Greece owned, by that time we already assimilated for like 300 years. So we were already calling ourselves Greeks. It's like you got the Southern Kingdom, you got Judah, the so-called black man today. They call themselves American. Some of them say African American. They say all these different terms, but those are just different places that they landed in. All right. You have I don't want to say Native Americans. This the Native Americans. Native Americans hate America for sure. Um, yeah, like you have like I speak again on my behalf, tribal from. You have a lot of Puerto Ricans that say that we're American. Why? Because we're under them, and we've been under them since 1898. It's 100 years. So imagine 300 years of being in harsh bondage to the Greeks, forced Hellenization. They forced the Hellenized form of living upon us, right? You have the Tainos when the Spanish would force the Spanish way of living on us, and now like the Tainos are done away with it. They don't exist no more because they're so caught up, and now they're Spanish. You have people saying that, oh, are you Spanish? Spanish is a language, right? But that's another topic. Um, so we've been in captivity, like prior to the Roman captivity. Well, not necessarily us because I'm Northern Kingdom, but the Southern Kingdom, they went under the Greek captivity for 300 years. So they were acting and claiming Greeks. That's one of the biggest, like, it hurts. It hurts the doctrine because the Bible will say Greek a lot, right? And it'll be Israelites being called Greeks. They take it and they're, oh, look, now it's for everybody, but that's just abuse of the scriptures. Um, yeah, this was called the forced Hellenization. And then Greek, All right, so we look at buck breaking, right? Back in the slavery, in the slave. I mean, we're still in slavery today, but you know, the harsh, really like uh, um yoke. Um, they had something called buck breaking, where they would beat it into the strongest person to the point where it was normal. What they were doing and what they were teaching was normal. That's what the Greeks did. The first section of the Greek captivity was them. If you say you're a Jew, they'll kill you. If you circumcise your child, they will kill you. You know what I'm saying? They would just do all this crazy stuff if you were keeping jewelry, if you were keeping the commandments of God. Eventually, it didn't have to be forced anymore because we were broken. Right? They broke us already, and we just and they didn't have to do anything anymore. They were just there. They were just it's like America today. They don't have to do nothing. There's no revolts. There's no it's like poetry jams. You know what I mean? They got little protests and things. You know, they're making an impact, but not enough. If the things that they were doing and saying what was making an impact, a genuine impact, they would do something about it. But they brush it off. It's just whatever. I'm not saying don't try. They should definitely try, but it's not doing nothing. Right? We need divine intervention. We need the Son to come, the Messiah to come and do what he's been planning to do for a long time. So let me see. I have to get out of here real quick. Second Maccabees 6:6. Let's say you guys, whoever is watching this video, don't subscribe to the Apocrypha. We know obviously it was a part of the original text. It's canon. It's inspired. It's it's part of the word. Um, but there are some people that they don't believe it's inspired. They don't think it's the word of God. It was sent by God, but they do take it as historical accuracy. Um, that my bad, Slagi, that it's historically accurate. So secular sources will take it and make it and use it to prove history because all this stuff you can find it in secular history books, and so we know that it was written. You know, it's inspired, but this is the book of Second Maccabees, chapter 6, verse 6. So this is the time of the Greek captivity. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient fasts, or to profess himself to be a Jew. So it wasn't lawful. Like if you were doing that back in the day, you get prison time, you get murdered, shunned, whatever. And this is in the land of Israel. But since they were occupying Jerusalem, they were occupying Israel, we were subject to their ordinances, subject to their laws, subject to their rule. Right? Look at this. This is a little off topic, but watch this. Verse 7, next one, says, "And in the day of the king's birth every month, they were brought by bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices. And when the fast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus carrying ivory." Right? So it's saying that we were forced to celebrate the birthday of the king every. So let's say he was born on the 15th. Every 15th we had to celebrate the day of his birth. So they were obviously conforming us into their what you call it? their culture. We were being assimilated into their culture. First by force, second it was just normal, and it was just by then it was whatever. The mother taught it to the kids, and the kids taught, and the father taught it to the kids, and it got passed down the same way we do Halloween today, we do Christmas today. We do it because I don't do it, but like by and large, our people do it. We know it's wicked. We know Thanksgiving is evil. We know Halloween is evil, but it was passed down to our parents, and then their parents, and then their parents, and their parents. But eventually, down that line, it was forced. Now it's just because it's common knowledge. It's just what we do. But eventually, down that line, Thanksgiving was forced on us. Christmas was forced on us. Halloween was for you. So, yeah. All right, so let's go to. I know once I start talking. So and then this whole thing started around like 200 BC, around there, right? And then it went all the way to what you call it, all the way to the Romans. I forgot when the Romans took over. So roughly around there. So definitely, so it was definitely before 200 BC when it started because it was a couple. It was like 200 years or something like that. It says over time, Rome was increasing in size by 140. Rome had conquered the city-states. Heavy taxes were paid. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So it was roughly, with these things, you gotta give or take. But it was around that time. There's also times where it's not just Greeks, right? Because there was the ancient Greeks, the people before the Greeks. I mean the modern Macedonians, and then we were consistently being called after other nations. Sometimes we would call Sodom. Sometimes we would call like Egyptians. We would call think of another term. Damn, bro, I'm trying to blank. I've been up all day, but we're typically we're called after the nation of nations that we follow. You know, like they'll say, "Oh, he'll say you are of your father the devil." Does that mean that we're the sons of the devil? No, we're the sons of God, but we're acting like the sons of the devil. So, so this is the book of First Maccabees, chapter First Maccabees, chapter 12, verse 21. You see this? It says Arius, verse 20. It says Arius, king of the Lacedaemonians, king of the Lacedaemonians, Salakia, to Ananias the high priest, greeting. It says, it is found in writing that the Lacedaemonians and the Jews are brethren, and that they are of the stock of Abraham. So saying that the Lacedaemonians, which is Japhetic people, right? They're Japhetic people, are the stock of Abraham because it's Jews being called Lacedaemonians, right? Let's see something quick. Let's look up lesson. Actually, I don't want to look at the lesson. And then when it came to the Greeks, at first we were on good terms. It wasn't like a hostile takeover type of thing. It was just like it was so big. It was kind of like it's steady. We were able to keep our feast days. We were able to do whatever. And then when the Diochi came into play, when Alexander the Great, Alexander the Creep, whatever you want to call him, when he passed away, when he died and left it to the four generals, to his four generals, that's when this started to like that's when they really started to buckle down and take us out of our what you call it, take us out of our commandments, our culture, and started to assimilate us into their culture. All right, let's go back to Second Maccabees. Second Maccabees, chapter 4, verse 9. It says, beside this, he promised to assign 150 more if he might have license to set him up a place for exercise, like a gym, right? And for the training up of the youths in the fashions of the heathen, and to write them of Jerusalem by the name of the Antiochians. So he's saying that they're going to build gyms and places to worship their gods and the fashions and the customs of the heathens. So they were building those things in Jerusalem. So that's them, like, slowly implementing their cancerous ways upon us, right? And then this inevitably led up to when Jesus was on the scene, when Yahushua was on the scene. Jews living as Greeks, speaking as Greeks, calling themselves Greeks. And those are the Greeks that they're talking about in the New Testament, in the quote-unquote New Testament. There's these people right here that it was forced on them. It was, and they just took it and they ran with it because they were trying to survive. So by the time they get to the Romans, they already brainwashed. They got the buzz cut. You know how they do it in America. And then the same way today. All right, it's Second Maccabees 4:15. So same chapter, same book. There's the same way today. You have people that just completely forget about their heritage, forget about their culture, and they just follow the culture that they live in. In America, we follow the American culture. We followed the American culture. You have some people that live by it. I'm telling you, they'll talk trash about their people. They'll talk trash about their country that they left or whatever, or their families from. And they swear by this nation. They pledge allegiance to the flag. They live it. But it's not something that's new. It's not modern. There's nothing new under the sun, and it's been done before. This is a book of same book, same chapter, Second Maccabees 4 and verse 15, jumping up. It says, not setting by the honors of their fathers, but liking the glory of the Grecians best of all. So at this time, we're not honoring our fathers. We're liking the glory of the Grecians, which is the Greece, best of all. So we're following them and we're just putting them on a pedestal. Like they can do no wrong, right? Like this shit don't stink. And the same way we do today. Everybody. You got Russia, you got Putin talking about the hypocrisy of America and how they did slave trade. They do this thing. They do all this over the world, right? And that's somebody that sees the effect that America has on the rest of the world. But then you have people in here in this country swearing by it. We've been harmed. I'm still being harmed by it, right? We're still being harmed, and we will just defend it to the last day. Every 4th of July, they'll put the Star Spangled Banners on their pants, and this is because it's they won't let us get out of it. They won't let us escape and go to another country or another land to leave it to be ourselves. They follow us everywhere we go to continue to harass and oppress us. Doesn't matter where we go. And you know why? It's because we don't keep the commandments of God. And since because we're going astray from the Most High, He's going to continue to punish us using these damn heathens. And they're gonna be right out your window, just bothering you. They're gonna be right next to you, bothering you, because of the damn devil. And the devil knows his time is short, so they're gonna stop you from learning this. They're gonna stop us from teaching this, and it's gonna get really bad. Like I said, they'll be right out your window. But like I said, I always go on my rants. My bad. So we preferred after they beat it into us, we started just being, it's like an abusive relationship type of thing. In the same way we called ourselves after Antiochus, right here. I think it was verse right. Verse. Them Jerusalem by the name of the Antiochus. The same way we called ourselves after that, it's the same way we call ourselves America. And America, the term America, after it was called Arsuith, because before it was called Arsuith. Now it was the term America was coined after Amerigo Vespucci, something like that, right? So once again, we're being called after another man, after a heathen, and we run with it. Watch this. Amerigo Vespucci, right? Where we at? Man, Amerigo Vespucci was an Italian explorer and navigator from the Republic of Florence, from whose name the term America is derived. So the United States of America came from this man's name, Amerigo Vespucci. So we're consistently it's a repetitive, I don't want to say loop, but we're just consistently calling ourselves after the names of the heathens, and not even that, and enjoying it too, and we run with it till the wheels fall off. All right, so I'm gonna end that. I'm gonna end this right here because I went on a rant. Then I'll go on another lesson about the Israelites being called Gentiles, and then the heathen being called Gentiles in the New Testament, because that's where the biggest that's where the misunderstanding is really in the New Testament. Because you have this one, we had Deuteronomy. Like Deuteronomy 23 and 20, like it gives you a fine distinction between a clear distinction between an Israelite stranger and a heathen stranger. In the New Testament, it's there, but it's a little bit more. You gotta really be well studied in the verses, and you gotta study it, and you gotta actually look for it, because the New Testament isn't different than the Old Testament. They harmonize it, say the exact same thing. But yeah, so I'm gonna end it on that one, and then I'll put a video up a couple days, Lord willing. Damn, look at damn crackhead. So I'm gonna end this by giving Kahal Yahweh, Bashem Hamashiach Yahushai. That's all honor, all praise, and all glory to the Most High God Yahweh, in the name of His only Son, only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Yep, call me Yasharala. Keep studying. Keep whatever I tell you here. Go out and look for it on your own. Keep the commandments. Even if let's say you don't believe salvation is only for the Israelites, and you think it's for the Gentiles, keep the commandments. That's it. But shalom.